when I look at, the question I was asking, how's Bitcoin, Ethereum, they're kind of rallying and doing good. How's it holding up so well where, we just saw FTX, Celsius, Voyager, right? But what about Silvergate coming down a ton? What about Coinbase now, right? Everyone coming after Coinbase kind of, saying there's going to be a major slowdown, which you're seeing. So you got to upgrade from Coinbase the other day, downgrade today. But how is it keeping up? It's because that people are, the holders of Bitcoin are long-term holders. It's just a matter of where you're keeping your assets. And when I argue about Silvergate and Silvergate's coming down, I said, I don't see any fraud there. And I still don't see fraud there. However, it is a bank and people are removing deposits. And when you're removing deposits, and you could do that for Bank of America, if you feel like something's wrong with the bank, you're going to remove your deposits. Now, you're not seeing people sell Bitcoin. What they're doing is they're transferring that into cold storage, which is offline. And this way they can hold it someplace else because a lot of people got burned, especially with two companies, Celsius and FTX. Those are companies that were supposed to be reputable, that everybody thought were okay, right? That really surprised the hell out of everybody. And they got wrecked. And Silvergate, what I was saying, listen, I think there's no fraud there, but people are going to continue to pile on. If you can get a way to scare the shit out of everyone where you move your assets for a banking account or something like that, that's what happened. And then you had Silvergate come out and say that they had to sell some of their assets, which their assets were in treasuries and other things. They had to sell some of their debt for a loss to cover around $8 billion because a lot of people were removing it because there's stories everywhere. And that's another story saying some kind of home loan that they had from like 3 years ago, 2 years ago. Again, they're going to keep piling on. This is Wall Street. I use this example when it came to Wall Street. Wall Street is I work there, guys. This is what I do for a living. It's the most cutthroat thing in the world. Okay, your best friend sitting next to you at Wall Street wants to take you and everything away and wants to steal your wife from you, okay? They want to steal your house, take everything from you. And I use this example, this analogy a lot, okay, on Wall Street, and it's true. Because not only will they take it, you'll be there just in the street bleeding with one sock on, they'll take the sock and burn it in front of you and say, that's what you get. That's Wall Street. There's nothing more cutthroat than that. So once they find a little angle they can come, they're trying to do Coinbase. They're trying to go after Tether now. They're trying to destroy the industry, which means when it comes to crypto, it's still, you got to wait for this to settle out. The companies that are going to be left standing, which is going to be Coinbase, they have a ton of cash on their balance sheet, over $5 billion. A lot of it's institution. You're seeing, you're going to see trading volume come down, but they also have a lot of employees, which they're cutting now, which is good. So, Coinbase, I think, is a survivor. Silvergate, listen, it's about assets. They had the assets. A lot of other companies that sort of runs on the banks didn't have it. Silvergate was able to sell $8 billion, and maybe people keep removing money from Silvergate, and maybe that's the way it goes under. I don't see fraud. I haven't seen fraud, and it would be easy to prove because they're regulated. They're a publicly traded U.S. company, U.S. bank. They're regulated, right? Just like a J.P. Morgan. So you could see all their financials. I'm sure since FTX, everyone's been ripping off the books and everything. So, when it comes to this, and now you're seeing, what else we're seeing? We're seeing the Winklevoss twins, right? With Gemini and Gemini Earn, where all these companies that were giving you 8%, 10%, 15%, while interest rates is zero, there's a reason why that never happens. The reason why in my newsletter, I never suggested doing that, staking and stuff like that and earning interest, because I didn't understand it. I had a BlockFi CEO, Zach Prince, come on, and I talked to him and said, I asked him questions about it. He wasn't able to tell me where I understood how are you paying that in. You have to be making it someplace else. Obviously, they weren't. Okay, so now you have the Winklevoss twins, right, accusing Silver, who's, that's DCG, right? So Digital Group. And
Digital Currency Group, yeah.
Digital Currency, and they're going back and forth, right? And they're saying that, where the trading for Gemini was on, how to go through them, and these are the guys that own the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust, and how they were involved in 3AC and that blow up and lending money to them back and forth. So, it's all he said, she said type thing, and they're going back and forth. And again, it's not good for crypto. But the reason why you're seeing Bitcoin and Ethereum, the two main ones, not really getting hit, even though you're seeing more and more controversy and more bullshit and more drama and prima donna bullshit in the industry, is because people who own those assets are not selling them. They're just taking them out of these places and holding them in cold storage because they're believers long term. So those are two that work. There might be a couple others that work, but the rest of the industry, you have to sit back, wait a little while, and there's going to be the opportunity of a lifetime in here because it's not going away. As much as Jim Cramer says it's going away now. I think what did you say you like Coinbase at? I forgot.
Well, I was looking back. I forget the number, but I feel like I remember him touting Coinbase as an entry into crypto and all that. And of course, and people can change their mind. That's fine.
Yeah.
Gemini, today on Decrypt, I was reading this morning that they are terminating their Earn program.
They have to.
Well, you think, and trying to get that $900 million that there's this 900 million figure that they keep tossing back and forth between them and what Genesis owes. It's a mess. You're right. That is all good because, to your point, you asked the gentleman the same question. He didn't really understand it because there is no clear answer. It's clear as mud, as the fun saying goes. Sam Bankman-Fried was asked the same thing about how, these earn programs work. He gave a terrible answer months and months ago. This is definitely a black eye. Outside of a few smaller altcoins or whatever they're called, outside of Bitcoin and Ethereum that you don't even have to be interested in crypto, you know what those are, or you have at least heard those. I am surprised that volume is hanging out or staying. I'm surprised there's still as many altcoins as there are. Let's put it that way. Because if you're the average guy, I don't know, unless you really want to hang up on crypto completely, which I don't think that's the average crypto investor or risk taker. What's keeping you from going, hell with it? I'll just buy Bitcoin, Ethereum, and forget about this.
I mean, that's
really
what
greed, and I don't mean greed is a bad word. I mean greed is a good word. Other than greed, what are you taking shots for? That's an interesting back and forth to think about in a macro view.
Looking at this industry 4 years ago and really having great context in the industry and going through these tokens and everybody telling me, this is great, this is great, this is great. I told you from day one. And it was even more relevant now than it is back then. 90 to 92% of all the companies are bullshit. Okay? These are not companies at equity stake where you go bankrupt, they can't make the payrolls. There's no equity involved. There's no equity. You don't see the numbers. This is a utility feature. The utility is the token has to be linked to the utility, which is actually powering the technology within the blockchain. And some of them don't have a utility. Uniswap doesn't have a utility yet. Billions of dollars valuation. Most of them don't have a utility. Binance has a utility. If you could use that token and then they burn it, which is like buying it back every single quarter. They're buying it back. Or burning their tokens, and you could use it for trading fees. You could use it to buy different things. They have 100 different things you can use a token for. But if you look at all the other tokens, I'm like, where are you using it? Well, when we make profits. Well, you're not making profits for 20 years, right? Yeah. 10 years. So basically, you have no utility, right? And there's no equity tied to it. So you're saying, why aren't they going out? Because they just leaving it there, and maybe they traded a penny or they traded 0.0000001 cent. But it just shows you how these things are really securities. They're all securities, right? You have to deem them all securities eventually. Other than Bitcoin, Ethereum, and maybe 2 or 3 others, they're all securities. People intend to make money on them. They're selling them. People own these things. The insiders own them. You don't know how much it is. They're dumping the crap out of it while they get being pumped online and Twitter and things like that. And that's been going on for a long time. What I'm surprised to see is that even the best names in this industry are down 70%, 80%. And even that 8%, which leaves you about a good, maybe 100 cryptocurrencies that really have good features that have, really good people behind them. They have good investors behind them. You have Anderson Horowitz behind them. I mean, there's also good investors behind FTX, but you're seeing how crazy this industry is. But the survivors that are left, it really reminds me of how terrible it went with, during the .com. Mm-hmm. There was a lot of good companies that just had crazy valuations that leveraged themselves too much. They were really, really great companies that went out of business. And then look what happened to those companies, right? I'm not talking about now and again looking at 20, 25 years later, 23 years later, but even 5, 6, 7 years later, like 2006, 7, 8, just going into the credit, how you saw the leaders really emerge and become the leaders even of today. And that's what you're going to see in crypto. It's not going away. This is something that's real, but it's nice. The FTX thing is, I know it's hurting a lot of people, even people on our newsletter, anyone that's involved in crypto. It's a good thing to wash out all the shit and all the garbage and all these young kids that think they can create a token and just be like, oh, we got a token, and there's no utility features to it. And it's going to, you're going to have that cream rise to the top. And there's going to be a time, probably 2, 3 years from now, you're going to be like, I can't believe I bought this at 3 cents, at 4 cents, at 5 cents, and it's like $5, $6, $7. And you're not going to really have that opportunity in the stock market. Even though some of these names are down 70%, they're finally trading at 15 times, 17 times earnings, what they're supposed to trade at when they were trading at 100. Even, whenever it says they're trading at something times sales is because they can't use a traditional PE because they're not making earnings and not generating profits. So they'll use sales estimates. Well, there's a great stock. It's trading at 15 times sales compared to the rest of the industry. Now the whole industry has come down, and you've seen all these names come down tremendously. And technology, unfortunately, there's still a lot of companies that are still overvalued. I mean, I don't want to buy. I think NVIDIA is an unbelievable company, but it's still overvalued here. Same with AMD. These are companies you have to be careful with, where just because they're down 60% from their highs, you think they're buys, but there's a re-rating going on. It's no longer a growth market. It's a value market. People want to see cash flow, and that's why you've seen the IBMs hold up well and Intel start holding up well, even though, those are two names that got crushed during the growth phase, and nobody wanted them, but now people want those companies now because they generate cash flow. So that's where we are within crypto. You got to be patient, probably for at least another 6 to 12 months, but a lot of the stuff is washing out. I think most of it's washing out, and then you're going to see institutions, and I think you're going to see our big banks, once this is regulated and SEC gets off their fucking ass for once in their life and comes in. I shouldn't say that because they make, the SEC is a political organization now. But once they get off their ass and regulate this once $2 trillion industry, right? It's a real industry. It's integrated within banks and blockchain and stuff like that. You're going to see some of the big banks really start going all in. And even some of the institutions and money managers are starting to offer Bitcoin in their 401ks, which is a good thing. And that's why you're seeing Bitcoin hold up pretty well, even though you're seeing Coinbase come down. You see Silvergate really come down the other day when they had to cover the $8 billion in withdrawals. But they did have the money to do that in treasuries and stuff like that. And let's see how this plays out. But it's still going to get worse before it gets better, Daniel.
Worse. Frank, we got to do something positive then. We can't talk like that. I'm kidding.
I mean, I said positive where the winners, you're going to see it. I mean, if you're a long-term holder and you're purchasing things like Bitcoin, Ethereum, and some of the others, you're going to get, some of these names should not be down 80%. They shouldn't. I mean, these are good names within the industry, but the rest of them should be bankrupt. Right. And now you're going to see people who launch these tokens. They're going to be more of security tokens. And that's why Coinbase got their license for security tokens. We're a security token. We show our financials and everything. And you get an actual equity stake, just like you would in a stock in our company. That's where it's going to go. That's where it makes sense for a lot of these companies. And hopefully we'll see it go that way. I do think it's going to go that way. I thought it would go that way a lot sooner, but unfortunately you have to wait for the whole industry to get blown up like this before you realize we need more disclosures, we need more regulation. People need to know their money's safe, and that's where we are right now.
Agreed. The SEC isn't going to do anything quickly. That's an aggravating thing, but we'll get through it.
Yeah, which is good because they haven't done anything quickly for 3 years. So hopefully now they're ready because they haven't done anything. They haven't done anything. Oh, well, we're going to regulate. We're going to do this, and it looks bad. I mean, now look. You know what I mean? If you on the ball, FTX, I mean, it might have happened anyway because it's a more international company than a U.S.-based company, but come on. If you don't understand this, get people in there to understand. It's just like hackers. I mean, the best hackers are hired by the government because they say, hey, you know what? It's easy to get paid $1 million a year than go in there and steal this stuff and risk going to jail for life. So, these are the best people that know the best. You have great people within crypto that could work for the government to help them out to understand this. You just got to get off your ass. You have to get off your ass now because a lot of people are getting hurt and, it's unfortunate. And, they're asleep at the wheel and they have to get off their ass. I never thought I'd say that about the SEC where, you want more regulation. I don't want it to be over-regulated, but you need to know your money's safe. You need to know where the capital is. You need to know that it's not some kind of Ponzi scheme where, FTX is using that capital to fund other investments. I mean, what is this, Party Polka? Remember that site? You think you have all your money on the site and you go, they're taking all the money out and it's when deposits stop, the wheel starts turning. You're like, oh, that money's not really in there because they're keeping it. And when people want their money back, they can't get it. How don't we know that? I mean, why isn't that regulated? It's regulated every place on every brokerage firm here, right? They all do the KYC AML checks immediately here. They do that. They don't even tell you they do it because it's automatic. I mean, if you have a warrant for your arrest and you sign up for a brokerage firm, I could tell you within probably a half an hour to an hour, a cop's going to knock on your door and arrest you. All right. That's all being checked behind the scenes. I mean, this should be done. I just don't understand why it's not done because it's a fascinating industry. There's really unbelievable technology. It is the future. Banks know it. Funds know it. Everybody knows it. So regulate it because this is where the future is going. This is where it's going. But yet you have to regulate because there's so much bullshit. And hopefully we see that regulation coming.